Okay, today's Friday. It is 9:53 p.m. It is August 21st. I survived 2 weeks of hard labor. It's a worthwhile hard labor. It pays the bills, hard labor. I'm extremely grateful of the hard labor. There's a couple things that are still a little bit. So I heard that when you're working for a company and you make a list of things that you want to do during the day, you want to eat that frog. Okay, it's called eating the frog. Okay, it's something that you really don't want to do, but you have to do it. Okay, so as a criminal, okay, I am a criminal. All right. Um, I am a criminal because I didn't realize the full depth of understanding of the difference between a friend and a brother. Okay, the distinction is very interesting. Okay, so I have this Catholic deacon who has been kind to me over the years, and he has been consistently good to me. Right? Consistent. Now I'm beginning to understand what consistency is. And he's been very kind to me. Okay. And so he would switch between a brother and a friend. And he knows a little bit of my background and what these brothers did to me. Right? And so then he switched to a friend. Okay. I prefer a friend versus a brother. A brother is given the right to mistreat his brother, okay? But a friend is not a friend if you mistreat that friend, okay? He's no longer a friend if you mistreat him, because a friend does not mistreat his friend, okay? So I prefer the terminology of friend, all right? So then I got to thinking about, so there's a few things that I need to do as a criminal now. People complain because I posted on Facebook that the facts. I stated the facts. There's a movie with Tom Cruise, and he's in a military. He's part of the JAG. Okay. And he was trying this colonel who apparently made a decision, impacted a few of his soldiers, and that he was in trial for that. And he said to them, "You cannot handle the truth, right? You can't handle the truth." Whether Jack Nicholas said that or something, right? So you can't handle the truth and things like that, right? So there's that movie about that, and so I posted the truths, okay. And then I was perusing through the movie The Shawshank Redemption. Okay, and so this is when Andy first walks onto the exercise field, right? And he meets Red, and he's conversing with Red, and Red asks him, "Hey, what did you do?" And he says, "Well, I'm innocent." Right? That's what he says. And then Red proves this out and says, "Well, everybody says they're innocent." And then he points it out to this other main character and says, "Hey, what are you in for?" And the guy blurts out this. He says, he blurts out this. Literally, he blurts it out in the movie. He says this: "My lawyer screwed me. I'm innocent." Those two things. He said that. Okay? He says, "I'm innocent. The lawyer screwed me." Okay? That's what he says. Okay? And then everybody says that in prison. Okay? That's what they say. So I'm thinking to myself, okay, that's what I've been saying. I've been saying that. These two lawyers, the civil lawyer didn't even show up for court. He said, "Hey, look, I didn't show up for court." He said that to me. Like he was proud. He was proud he didn't do that, right? So that lawyer screwed me. The criminal lawyer took on the other side and represented them. So the other lawyer screwed me, okay? And I'm saying to myself, to the world, that I'm innocent, right? So I'm saying these two things. that apparently everybody says in prison, right? So that's the current situation, right? And so I thought, whoa. So then I thought to myself, okay, so where am I going with this, Key? Where am I going with this? Okay, so I have to eat that frog one of these days, but that's the reality of it. So eating the frog is I have to take care of something. So which means that apparently there's a rule. I was able to. There was two types of probationary things. When you behave well, you are treated to a longer leash, which means that your supervision is just left to the internet. Okay, so you just periodically just check in and says, "Hey, is everything the same?" Right? Just it's a software. Then an email sends out and said, "Okay, you filled this out, so that's what you do." Then there's a second part, which is an active engagement. So I have to pay a police officer to supervise me out of my own pocket. Okay, so it's $50. But if I do that online, it's $30, right? So I have to pay $50, $50 out of my pocket. Okay, in order to make $50, I have to work several hours after taxes to pay this person to supervise me. Okay, it's a monthly expense that I have to pay. Okay, the court says, look, we're gonna convict you of this, and yet you have to pay this person to do certain things. So it's like they put you in prison, and then the state that you're at, they're charging you for the money that the food that you're being served with, and the rent that you have to pay for the services that are rendered. Okay, that's how the prison system works now. Okay, it works that way. So when you become a criminal, you automatically have to pay. Now it's not as expensive as living in the real world, where right now the rent is so expensive. You literally have to get one job to pay rent, and then you have to get the second job to buy food these days. It's amazing to me. It's amazing how that works out. I don't know how kids live. I don't know. I have no idea how kids survive these days. But anyway, that's the current situation. And so now what I'm having to do, because I have lost every penny that I had, I have to check into the homeless shelter, okay? And so that I can give that address to the probation officer so that they can do a check on where I am, okay? That's the sole purpose. Because I'm living out of my car, I didn't have to do that when I was like doing that online. But now I have to like provide an address, which fits with the address that's on my driver's license, okay? Because that's where I checked in when I first got into Boise, right? So where is this leading to, Key? Where is this leading to? Well, it's so I thought about this. I was in my car, right? And I was about to get some sleep. Okay, I was about to get some sleep, and then I realized something. Okay, I was about to get some sleep, and I realized something. Okay, now if I can get to 2%, I should be able to get to 8%. All right. I thought to myself, well, look, 8% is essentially the same as 7%. 7% is essentially the same as 6%, right? 6% is essentially the same as 5%. 5% is essentially the same as 4%. 3% is essentially the same as 2%. 1% is essentially the same as 1%. Okay, I'm not going to go to 0, but that's how it is, right? Then what happens is there are things that occurs because of certain events that occur. Okay, one of them is like emotion, right? There's emotion, and there's like narrow-minded thinking, the juvenile way of thinking, and then there's that emotional part of it. Okay, and there's that urgency. There's all sorts of things that are in interplay to dismantle the systematic process that are in place to make that 1%. Okay. So what happens is when time flows from one day to the next day to the next day to the next day, there will be interferences. Okay. One day I was making a minimum amount of money at a fast food restaurant. and I post something on Facebook, and somebody gets upset about what I said, which is the truth. And then it dismantles everything that I've constructed. Year 6 of 10 years. Year 6. I'm in the 6th year of the 10-year probation, right? And then I get a call from the probation office and says, look, we got 2 complaints on you about a Facebook post, and we're going to have to kick you out of that favorable status as a probation, okay, on probation, right? So now I got to drive my vehicle 5 miles from here to there, wasting gas. 5 miles, that's a lot of money, okay? And pay extra $20 to get supervised, right? And so because of that complaint, okay, now it has dislodged me, delayed me for 3 weeks. And for a period of time, I'm thinking, oh my God, how am I going to survive this? Okay? How am I going to survive this? I thought to myself, how am I going to survive? I don't know how I'm going to survive. Okay? How am I going to survive? I thought about that for a few days. As a trader, not being a profitable trader, if I am slightly profitable, I could use that to compensate for something, and so maybe I can buy something, some sort of a housing arrangement that I can do. But right now, it's difficult to do because it takes a whole paycheck, okay, a solid whole paycheck, not a prep cook paycheck, okay, because the paycheck that I was getting was sustaining my survival living out of my car, which means that it was rent free, but the rent is $1,000 just for the rent, and the added things that keeps piling up, like electric bills and all that stuff, doesn't even add to it. It's to survive in this world. I don't know how kids do it, but it takes about $2,000 to survive. Okay, month to month. Where are these people getting their money? I don't know. Okay. It's amazing. They just raise prices, jack up prices. It's just like, apparently they're using this software to jack up the prices, and so everybody has to pay for it. So everybody's in league with other apartment firms, okay? So the apartment uses the same software and says, oh, we're going to set it here. So they set it here. So all the prices are hyperinflated, okay? And so people have to pay that because you can't get into it. And so people are literally using one job, full-time job, to pay for an apartment. It's crazy. How do people afford houses? I don't know. You got to be really smart these days. If you're not smart, you're not able to survive. Okay, but I'm everywhere. Okay, so I thought to myself, okay, so now I'm like, okay, so that's the current situation. I survived it. Somehow I survived through this. And I am thankful. I have a few friends so I'm lucky. I am extremely lucky. I have a Catholic deacon who still believes me, whether I'm telling the truth or not telling the truth, but he still believes me, right? I'm telling the truth. I know it. God knows it. God knows, okay? I know it. Okay? Whether this Catholic deacon knows or not, he still is kind to me. Okay, I am his friend, and I am grateful. Okay, that's one. That's the faith. Okay, that's keeping me alive. Okay, then I have another friend, a very, very good friend, a college buddy of mine. When I tell him, look, I'm all sorts of crap is happening to me. He says, well, it's just a phase, buddy. And after weeks of like hellish life, feeling like everybody's against me and things like that, and I go, well, I need a friend like that. And I do have a friend like that. You need a friend like that. Okay? And then there's another friend, okay? There's another friend who I used to work with. Now, he's also in trading, which makes it even better, okay? Because we're working together to achieve something. Now we're finally making some progress, okay? And so he is providing more support. A friendship that I desperately needed, okay? Then I have a cousin like 6 months ago, and I said, oh my God, I was trading and I was making all sorts of mistakes, and I would take every penny that I had, I dump it into it, and I'm like, I'm like getting really upset about what the situation is, and then the cousin says, hey, do you need money? Right? A cousin, all the way across America, she says, do you need money? Right? And I told her straight, I don't need money. Okay? I need the skills. I need the skills. Okay? Because she's an artist, and she's not a trader, and so she doesn't know. So I told her I don't need money. Okay? Once I get good, I got all the money in the world. Okay? People will throw money at me because when I get good. Okay? I need skill. Okay? So then I have another friend. Okay, I have another friend who is in Colorado. He used to be my manager. Okay, now this is a guy who is a consistent friend. Okay, he's a consistent friend, and I send him my progress report once in a while, quite a few times. But he doesn't respond unless there's a question, and so he creates a moral support, which is helping me to survive. Okay, and so that's where I currently am, right? And so then as now this trailer job, fortunately, they're very, very busy. Okay, and so they need somebody like me who's 57 years old who can't do much work. Okay, and right now I'm drilling because I'm old. It just veers off a little bit, and it's just taking time. And so the supervisor says, you need at least a month to figure out what's going on. That's what he said. So I got a couple more weeks. I pray to God that I improve so much that I'm being retained. I hope so. Because I need the job, okay, to survive. All right. So this Catholic deacon says, see, I know I'm in the right faith. I know I'm in the right faith, okay? I know I'm in the right faith. Despite the fact that I'm the stupidest and the dumbest and the foolish and the most idiotic person on earth. Still, you have this guy who considers me worth something to communicate. Let me just tell you what kind of this guy is, okay? See, so this guy is apparently a well-known a chef, okay? He's a world-known chef, literally, okay? And he pops up on TVs and does like cooking shows for like the TV shows, okay? And he is an administrator of a Catholic church who works directly with a Catholic bishop. And there aren't too many bishops in America, okay? So he's a well-standing citizen in the community, okay, in the media, okay, and yet I have the fortune to be on his good side, okay, even though I am the smelliest and the stinkiest and the fooliest and the most ignorant and obnoxious person on earth, okay? So I have that. I am so fortunate. I have that infrastructure. And these people at Regis, the first girl who was here, she knew. She's smart. She knew what was going on, okay? She knew that she knew that I was a homeless man or something, but it's been years, and the people here are still allow me to be here, okay? Even though I haven't been successful for 6 years. And so I have this community who's been extremely supportive. Without the support of this community, I would not have come this far, okay? I would not have come this far because trading at times, it's fortunate that I'm able to trade when nobody's here. Because last week, I mentioned this, I I made two very, very vicious blunders, okay? I was trading for like 2 weeks, and I just oversized and I lost it. So I posted on my YouTube channel about that incident, and I was working on it for 2 weeks, and I just blew it. I was up 1.5%, and I just blew it. I just allowed it to just move against me. So then I bought another one, and I was up 0.5%, and then I immediately blew it in like 10 minutes. This is $63. Within a matter of half an hour, I lost $100 precious dollars, okay? I was going through this ordeal, okay? Where I was like at the climax of understanding. I was at the climax of understanding how Jesus Christ was felt when he was being whipped, carrying the cross from the beginning of the street to Golgotha, okay, where he was crucified, right? Because nobody would help. And the only one person who gave him water, right? One person gave him water, right? Nobody in the whole world cared about him. None whatsoever, right? They wanted his demise. That's what I felt, okay? Because everything around me was crashing down. Because what I said on Facebook, which is the truth. People don't like the truth, and they don't want that to be divulged. And they'll do whatever it takes to bury you, okay? Bury me, okay? Because what I said, okay? Because they don't want the truth to come out, okay? They don't. They don't want to be perceived as somebody for real, okay? So in the Little Red Riding Hood, Little Red Riding Hood goes to Grandma's house, and Grandma says, and Little Red Riding Hood says, "My, what big teeth you have!" Okay, because Grandma, the wolf does not want to be divulged. The wolf wants to be seen as Grandma. Okay, so that he could eat people. Okay, that's why, right? So the wolf gets really upset. Okay, but when you upset a really bad wolf, all sorts of bad things happen, okay? Because the wolf is far smarter than a very innocent Little Red Riding Hood. The Little Red Riding Hood, the only thing that the Little Red Riding Hood is perceive and run. That's it, okay? Where's my red shirt? So the reality is this. Now it's coming back to full circle. My wrist is tired. My wrist is tired. I'm tired. I'm really tired. I'm recovering. Okay, I'm recovering every week. It's like a 40-hour stretch of 4 days. Okay, and I'm watching what the current situation is so that I could improve, and I'm trying to build my body. This used to be very skinny. Now, after 2 weeks, it has muscled up. I can see it, man. If you want to see some muscles, I'll tell you what. If you want to see, people go to the gym, pay money to go do things, right? People go to the gym and Planet Fitness and pick up things, right? So all you have to do is pick up a few watermelons at a field and get paid, okay? And then you get jacked up like that, right? You just jacked up. This is 2 weeks. This is 2 weeks, right? Look at that. This is just 2 weeks, man. Look at that. Wow. It's like I do this. It's like it's not mushy. It's not mushy. Look at that. And I do this. It's not mushy at all. Okay. It's not mushy. It's no longer mushy right there. It's not mushy. It's not like one of those Jellos. It's not anymore. Okay. That's what happens when you do hard labor. So my body has to get acclimated to the situation so that I can do well. Okay. So then I thought, and now it all falls back to, it all falls back to, and I am deeply, 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 and profoundly, profoundly grateful. I am deeply, I cannot say this enough. I cannot say this enough. Maybe, okay, so the greatest achievement that I'll have is this. Okay, I want to see. I have become so as a trader. So there's this there's this lady who has a YouTube channel called Humbled Trader. Okay, when I first saw that, I had no idea what that meant, but I'm beginning to understand what being humbled means. Okay, you can be the smartest person on earth, but you will be the market will humble you. Okay, it will humble you literally. So apparently, I saw this documentary about this guy who is an AI developer. Okay. And so he was fired from OpenAI. Then he got in contact with a few people to start a fund. Okay, and so then he started to attract money from everywhere, like big companies. Okay, and he had amassed apparently from $1 billion to a couple $1 billion to like $40 billion or something like that. And then recently, the Asian market AI bubble burst and everything started to crash down. And apparently he lost most of the money, okay? But apparently he went to college at age 15 and graduated top of his class at age 19, okay? And so he essentially was a, what do you call it? A quant. He's apparently a quant. So he's a very, very smart man. But what happens, the difference between a very smart man and a trader is this, okay? A smart man will not lose. But a trader will lose because a trader was humbled. Because the market will eventually beat you down. So when the market is intent on beating you down, you exit because you know, because you've been humbled thousands and thousands and thousands of times. And I still make that mistake. That's why you get out of the market when the market says, look, I'm going to move against you. And if you hold on as long as you want, I'm going to take every penny you have. That's what the market does. Okay? So even the smartest man cannot beat the market. There will be that one instance, okay, that will totally dismantle whatever smarts that you have. Even if the society has credited you as being the smartest. That's why it's called being humbled, right? So then I thought to myself, now, I know all these things don't mean anything, okay? But I am just deeply grateful. I am deeply grateful, okay? I am incredibly grateful for the opportunity to do this, the most important thing right now, okay? I have been humbled to the point where now I'm seeing clarity, and I hope to make this video to place it on record of how grateful I am, okay? So that eventually, when I do make money, that I will never forget this. I will never forget this. And I pray that I never forget it, okay? Which is the most important thing I realized after being in solitude for the past 6 years is family, okay? It's family, okay? It's family. Because family is something that creates it creates this 4-letter word that starts with the letter L. It's called love, okay? It is living within love. It's living. So before the owner of the restaurant fired me, he says, "Well, you gotta go with God as fast as possible." And I quipped. I said, "Well, everybody has different speeds. I'm correct, but that's not the right thing to say, right? That's not. Okay? You want to go to God as fast as possible. That's the idea. But most people, I'm right. He's right. Because most people don't know. Okay? So you have Jesus Christ, who is born to know. There's three people on Golgotha that day. Okay? One of them was Jesus Christ. The other is the thief. The other is another thief. This one thief, even at his deathbed, the only thing that will cost him, whatever the cost is, saying, I believe. That's all he had to say. But he doesn't say it. He doesn't say it at all. But the one on the other side says, yeah, I have been humbled. I accept you. Yes. Now, 2 out of 3 will go to heaven. Well, Jesus already is in heaven, okay, all the time, right? But all you had to say was, I believe. But the third guy says, no. Right? So that's the current situation. Maybe that was an example of what that is. So they sat me down and says, hey, look, you have a choice, okay? You have a choice. But I am going to church, okay? But what I'm saying is this, okay? Everybody has their own speed to God, okay? So now, even in trading, everybody has their own speed, okay? Everybody has their own speed, okay? Maybe the owner's perception of me could have been swayed, okay? Maybe the perception at that last moment, he could have said, okay? It could have been this arrangement. The father was there, okay? And then he was asking me, hey, are you going to church? Otherwise, we're going to fire you. If he said, hey, if you don't go to church, I'm going to fire you, I would have had a totally different perspective. I had no idea what that situation was, okay? At least Jesus said, if you believe, you will join me in paradise. That's what he said. He's being truthful, okay? He knew how stupid the other person was, so he said that. But the owner didn't know how stupid I was, okay, or I am, so he should have made it more clear, okay? So now I'm in this situation, okay? So, however, I'm still very, very fortunate. Maybe it was just my time to leave, okay, and give somebody the opportunity to be in that situation so that they could improve themselves. It was my time to leave, okay? That's how things work, okay? And maybe it was something that I required in order to finally break free, to make progress in my trading, okay? Maybe the situation was getting to me, okay? And it was definitely getting to me, okay? Maybe I have no idea what the full situation is, okay? All I knew was this. I go to work 4 hours, do my stuff, and I exited, okay? I'm just an old man, a convicted criminal, and that's what I needed to do, okay? My interaction with other people, because what was not something that I needed to do, okay? Okay? There was no need for me to do that, okay? They don't need that from me, okay? Because I have earplugs on and I talk loud and they don't want to hear me either, right? But I thought I was doing something good and making the best as fast as possible, doing the things that I was required to do to get paid. But the situation turned and maybe it was time. And there's no regrets. There's nothing going on, okay? There's essentially, it happened, okay? And that's it, right? That's it. But when people make complaints and since I am a convicted felon, that the only thing that happens to me to the situation is I'm automatically guilty. Whatever it is, I'm automatically guilty. Okay, nobody believes me anyway, right? It's like that prison yard. It says, "My lawyer screwed me. I'm innocent." That's what they say. Everybody says that apparently. Okay, I'm saying that. And I'm speaking the truth, okay? But it sounds eerily the same as that, whatever that Shawshank Redemption statement says, right? So now it all boils down to this. Before I was told not to sleep in my car in a personal property is this. I was like ready to get some sleep because I was so tired. Because I was essentially devoting most of my time trading. And then 4 hours, 5 hours, going there and working and then coming back, okay? 3 times a week, but most of the time I was devoted to trading, okay? And I was tired and I was making progress. I thought I am making progress. And I thought to myself, okay, so 1% is equal to 2%. 2% is equal to 3%. 4% is equal to 5%. 5% is equal to 6%. 6% is equal to 7%. 7% is equal to 8%. It's obvious, right? If I can get to 5%, I can get to 6%. If I can get to 6%, then I can get to 7%. That means that I have to know what is allowing me to go from one range to another range. As long as I know what that is, then I can get to the other level. That's what it means. As long as I know. That's the one factor. Now, the second factor is something called consistency, okay? Now, consistency is a strange and very complex thing, okay? It really is, okay? It really is. It's a very, very strange and complex thing, okay? It's a very, very strange and complex thing, okay? So the first thing is I have to know how to make money. The second part is I have to make it consistent, okay? These are the two things that I need to know. I have to know how to make money and I have to be consistent. That's very difficult, okay? That allows me to jump from 5 to 6%, from 6 to 7% to 7%, 8%. When I made that YouTube video, I was laying there because I was subconsciously making that progress. But I hadn't fully appreciated something called consistency. And one of the factors that are undermining consistency is making mistakes. Mistakes, okay? I know it. And then there's the other part is emotion. And then the other part is not fully comprehending the strategy that I have. And the strategy has a very, very, very powerful effect effect on emotion, right? And so there are these things that are eroding the consistency that I need in order to go from 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 6 to 7, okay, 7 to 8. Okay, 7% is just providing a line where it essentially meets the criteria of every platforms out there. Okay, every platform. And it also, think about it, if I can make 8% per month, that's a lot of money. Okay, it's a lot of money. Okay? People are astounded at making 8% per year. Okay, per year. Not too many people give you 8% per year. The market is so dangerous. You don't know. Okay, you have to sit there for years and years and years and years and years. Okay, sitting on millions of bucks. It's like the house. When you initially buy the house, it's worth what you paid for. Probably less. Okay, because the added expense and things like that. But it takes time to appreciate and accumulate. Okay, it takes time, stretch of time. So there's two components of it. Okay, there's two components. The first is you have to be crystal clear on that setup. When you're crystal clear on that setup, then there is a solidification of that consistency just purely based on that. Now, maintaining that consistency is being aware of your surroundings and yourself, the two components of yourself. There could be a catastrophic thing that occurs in life, okay? Like being fired from a very secure job. I'm deeply thankful. I'm still thankful that I was given the opportunity to make a living. It afforded me with a lap of luxury that I could not have had the peace of mind for the past 5 years, 6 years. It was great. It was heaven. Okay, it was heaven. But I got kicked out of heaven because I made some Facebook post about these 15-year-olds who are like bullying me. Okay? I'm a convicted felon. I'm not going to do anything. Okay? That's the least thing that I want to do. I'm not going to do anything at all. Okay? That would be detrimental to my life. So I just posted, hey, look that's what they're doing. Okay? Maybe it was that. I don't know. Okay? I don't know specifically what caused it. But I had to post it so that I could put it on record, which will calm my emotion, okay? It calms my emotion because I'm divulging things, because it erases the emotions that I have so that I can work each day, right? That's what I needed to do, okay? So that I can document it, okay? So that I don't let it go out of control. I don't do anything out of the ordinary, okay? So that I can maintain my consistency. But other people don't see that. The owners don't see it that way, okay? It probably pissed people off because I'm telling the truth. They don't like that. People don't like being told. They don't like it when you tell the truth, okay? People don't. Truly, people don't like it when you tell the truth, okay? A manager will comes over and says, look, you're not good, okay? It upsets you, okay? But I'm gonna make some improvements. I'm gonna see what's going on, okay, so that I can improve. That's what I need to do, okay? I'm gonna make improvements. All right, so then, so in trading, see how it threads in. It threads. Life threads the market. Everything is integrated. Every part of it is integrated. The life that I'm living is threaded into the Bible too. I can see it now. When I read the Bible, I thought it was just a story. Okay? I thought it was just a story, and there's this fellow named Christ. And then as I started to live my life, look back on my life, and then compare between what the Bible is, the content of the Bible, and then see what's happening, I can mirror what's going on. Okay? I can mirror it. I can mirror what's going on with the Bible. Okay? That's what I've seen. And so then I have these two components. Okay? One of them is I have to be incredibly precise on my setup. I have to know what my setup is, so that it tells me that I can make money on a consistent basis. Knowing my setup and being able to execute my setup is called consistency. That's consistency right there. And what is knowing the setup and having the ability to maintain that consistency, avoiding the mistakes that I'm making. Okay, avoid these mistakes. I avoid these mistakes. Okay, and when I avoid these mistakes, because if I know what my setup is and I know how to enter, I know how to exit, then everything else is just mistakes. One of the mistakes is looking at my monitor, and then there's a big green spike, and I automatically see like it's like a bull, like seeing red, right? Okay, except me seeing green, and then just my mind just flips, and then I just dump everything into it. Even though I was up 0.5%, I was making it, and just within the last 10 minutes, I made 0.5% that I could have just perpetuated, right? And within 10 minutes, I lost $63. Making $63 in 1 week was a tremendous thing to do. It required an enormous sacrifice of time, okay, and energy, okay, and all plus getting bullied by a 15-year-old, okay? And I had to suffer through that, make $63, and I blew it in 10 minutes, okay? So it all boils down to these two things that I'm now becoming more aware of it. Because when I scrape away that emotion, scrape that emotion away, scrape it up, scoop it out. I scoop it out. I scoop that emotion out. I pop it out. It's out. That emotion is out. I have to be conscious of what this thing is called, emotion, so that I can scoop it. If I don't know what emotion is, when I scoop it, it's like one of those sieves. Okay, so I scoop as much as possible that I want, but it still stays there because I cannot scoop it out. Every part of it has holes. It will not pop out. Okay? But when I'm able to properly identify the subconsciousness of the impact of emotion in my trading, okay? Subconsciousness of understanding what that understanding the subconscious to understand what's going on, then I'm able to fully encase that emotion and scoop it out, okay, permanently. Assign a specific location to explore emotion, but until then, it remains because and it is part of that subconsciousness. So So I thought it was going to be easy from going to 1 to 2, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5, 5 to 6, 6 to 7, 7 to 8. I thought it was going to be easy because I finally became conscious of what I needed to do. Then I realized, wait a minute, those green candles are totally destroying my training. And that's, of course, it's true that sometimes I take advantage of it and sometimes it works. But sometimes what it would do is I'll just lose it. It happens so many times, but it only takes one. And that's only one type of mistake that I'm making. Okay, one type of mistake, that green candle. The other part is my setup, when I'm trading it, and I'm like, my setup is not really, it's a fake setup. And when I'm like scaling in, it goes the other direction. I keep adding it like a dummy. And then that totally dismantles it. And the loss becomes enormous. Okay? And so I keep holding on to it. Okay? And I lose that way. I make another mistake like that. Okay? So these mistakes are causing me to lose, even though my setup is sort of very well defined. Okay? Now I'm having to spend more time now. I'm not trading right now, right? Because it's a Friday. After after the market close, there will be a Saturday and there will be a Sunday. Okay, there will be a picnic for the church, so I will miss that church. Okay, but I will go next week. Okay, and so what's happening? So what's happening is there are those two things that I need to be considered about. Reducing my mistake. I heard from these YouTube channels that initially I'm going to make all sorts of mistakes. And as time progresses, I'm going to start making less mistakes. And one of them, somebody asked him, hey, so how do you reduce these mistakes? And she replied, she's a professional. And she says, well, you'll make so many mistakes at a point you'll get so tired of it, you'll start not making these mistakes. That's when you finally become conscious of it. But once you forget about it, you'll start making mistakes. But the recovery will be faster, okay? Before, you didn't know. You didn't know what was hammering your head. But then, so you don't know. You don't know. Even though something's hammering your head, you're going, hey, what was that? There it is again. What is that? But as soon as you finally figure out what's hammering your head, you're going, hey, okay, I got you. Okay, I know what's happening. I know why the hammer is hitting my head. Okay, and it happens. Even as a professional trader, you forget. Okay, you show up for work on day one on Monday. You don't know what to do on certain things because you forget. You don't know what's going on. Okay, that's what happens. So I have to be so now I have to solidify my understanding of my setup, and then stop making those mistakes. And that's called consistency. That allows me to go from 7% to 8%. Okay? Without those two things working together to build something called the consistency, the overall consistency, the global consistency, the macro consistency. Okay? Setup and consistency in upholding that setup is called, what do you call it? The Hulk? The global Hulk. See, the Hulk becomes so powerful, he becomes global Hulk or something like that, okay? So it's called a global consistency, something like that, right? So now, so that's the current situation, okay? So the consistency means just that, being consistent. Okay? Just being consistent. All right? So now, so I know what I need to work on. I believe I've fully addressed the emotion. Okay? I believe it took a long time to address this emotion, to fully figure out, to fully comprehend, to fully define, to fully understand what emotion is. Okay? Right? People get upset, man. People get upset. I get upset, okay? So when I say something that is different than what they want to hear, okay, they'll get upset. It's an emotion thing, okay? Because people live in a world. People live in a world where everything is just heaven. And then when interaction occurs between, so essentially, people don't know this, okay, or they don't even consider what's happening as a human being, okay. The human being is just the brain, okay. It's a brain, okay, and the body is just the vessel that carries the person from one place to the other place. That's it, okay. It's a vehicle that people use, and some people. So when you look at a car that is dented and you got bumpers falling off and things like that, the body. So there's this UFC fighter whose name is Matt Hughes. So he was very successful, but unfortunately, I don't know why he did that. Okay, he parked his car in the middle of a train track, and then a train just walloped him and just totally destroyed his life. Okay, why would you do that? I don't know. Why would you park your car across a railroad track? I don't know. Why would you do that? I don't know. But God knows. I don't know. Okay, I have no idea. God works in mysterious ways. Okay, that's all I can say. Okay. All right, I don't know. It happens. Okay, and so you have everything's going well, and then you get railroaded, and it totally dismantles everything. That's what emotion is. And so when you remove that emotion, okay, so then now I'm seeing the cloud. It's like, so I'm working with these coworkers, and this coworker told me this. He says, "Oh, did you know that there's going to be a asteroid hitting the atmosphere, and then there will be an eclipse." Okay, but during that time, 24/7. Essentially, because of the wildfires in Oregon and Washington, the smoke was carrying through here for weeks, and so everything was shrouded. You can't even see the stars, the sky, day or night. And so he said that, well, you can see it in the sky, okay? And then he looks up and says, well, you can't see it now, okay? So that's what that emotion is. The emotion has this shroud, okay, that prohibits me from seeing reality, the truth, okay, of the situation. And when all that is cleared, okay, when all that is cleared, what is left over is the setup. It's the truth. Is the setup. And maintaining the integrity of that setup, okay, which is being consistent with the setup, goes hand in hand to create this consistency. I can hear this music. It's like what is that? It's like ta-da. Okay, it's ta-da, right? It's like music, right? It's like music into my ears. It's like there's music, okay? The emotion is completely, the shroud of confusion has been lifted. There's a silence. The music has stopped. In the movie Margin Call, the CEO looks out above the skyscraper, looks out into the dark. They discovered something that was the housing crisis. They never thought that it could ever possibly occur, where the whole of the housing market would crash, okay? And so they created these elaborate products based on the foundation that the housing market will never fail. And they created an incredible amount of risky tranches. And then he's looking out, and everything is so quiet. Not even a cricket. Okay? Not even that little high-pitched sound that I hear after a loud music. Okay? It's the absolute silence. It's a literally absolute silence. The music has stopped. And he says, "Do you hear that?" And do you hear that? The music has stopped. The music of interchange where you have Las Vegas conventions where these people meet up to make money and all that stuff. All that clatter and chatter and all that excitement about what is about to happen is this. It has stopped completely. Okay? It stopped. The room has been vacated. It's empty. And what's left in the room is me and God. Okay? And God is there. Okay? Sometimes I'll be sitting at a restaurant eating buffet right across from an empty chair. Now, he's not saying anything, so I don't hear him. Okay? Right? He speaks in a manner that is a spiritual language. Okay? That's what's happening. The music has stopped. It has completely stopped. What was causing that was emotion. The hustle and a bustle of greed and all these things that were just like in interplay. That was taking advantage of everything. Okay? So people whisper to each other, look, I'm making money from this. I'm making money from that and all that stuff, right? And then it transfers over to the whole world and everybody's into it. Okay? And then grandma in the backwoods of Arkansas is sitting in her rocking chair, rocking, okay? Lamenting about her life. And one of her family members shouts out from the car, okay? Did you hear about the housing market? How you can make money? Okay, usually that means that the music has stopped. It means it's all over. It's time to face the music. Okay? Because the music has stopped. And so what I thought was the development and consistency. Okay, what I thought was the development of consistency had all the other things, but now the shroud and the confusion has been removed. I finally see what I needed to see. Okay, which is that setup. Okay, just that setup. All you need is just one setup. That happens quite often. That's it. Just need one setup. Of course, that setup can vary based on what the situation is, but you just need one setup. That happens often enough to make money. Okay? If I make 1% per week, that's a lot of money. That's 4%. That's 50% per year. Okay? 50% per year of a $1 million account is $500,000. That's a lot of money. $1 million is a drop in the bucket in the market. I'm not making a dent at all. Okay? Right? $1 million is not a lot of money. Okay? It doesn't move the market very much. It doesn't. Because there's a multi-trillion-dollar market each day. Okay? The money exchanges at several trillions and trillions of dollars, right? So music conjures emotion. Okay? Music is emotion. Okay, music is emotion. It is emotion. And so what I thought when I was like about to go to sleep in my car before they told me I can't do that anymore. But before then I was doing that. So I'm laying there and I'm thinking, okay, so if I can get to 2%, I should be able to get to 8%. Just a repeat of what I need to do. But what I did not know is that the mistakes that I was causing would derail me for the past 1 year, even after I got 2 payouts at the 5K. And I knew how to trade, but it was still subconscious because I had that setup right, and I had that consistency right. But as soon as something changed to dismantle something that I didn't know about that was helping me, that I subconsciously knew what to do, when it was pulled out, I started to erode because I didn't know what was missing. But it took me a year to figure that out. What was missing was I still had that emotion, and I still was making that mistake, and I still was not fully aware of what the setup was doing that I was taking. Okay. So getting from 2% to 4% to 6% to 8% is a matter of maintaining my setup on a consistent basis to be consistent to 8%. And when I reach that 8% this time around, I know what's allowed me to be there. Then I can take that template and place it upon another, whatever it is, whatever the denomination is, and use it to start making money. And until then, I pray to God. I pray to God that I do all the right things at my day job or swing shift job so that it affords me the opportunity to pay rent here. Okay? To meet all the criterias. I'm making a prayer right now. I'm seriously making a prayer. I'm making a prayer. I pray to God that my job, the hard labor job that gave me this just in 2 weeks. Okay, just 2 weeks. I was doing prep work. And I was like chopping little things, like half an ounce kind of things here and there, okay? Lifting that was like half an ounce kind of things, not much work. I was like weak physically. I was physically weak. But my mind was getting stronger because I was working on this. But now, 2 weeks of that, just eating cereal and things like this. You know what I'm talking about? Wow, these are, man, when I grip, I can feel it now. I can see why Matt Hughes was. I can feel part of Matt Hughes in me right now. Ah, look at that! Wow! Look! Let me just demonstrate. Look, I'm pressing it. It's full of muscle. Anyway, so see, hard labor gives you a hard body. Okay. See, this is a rock. So it's always hard. Anyway, so what I need, so now, wow. So it took me many months from when I made that statement to follow to see. I heard these people who've been trading for like 30 years, and they're still saying that they're still making improvements. I'm just thinking, yeah, I know what you're talking about. I know what you're talking about. These people who are they're in a book called Market Wizards. Okay, these people are on Market Wizards. Okay. And so one of the YouTube channels was interviewing this guy who is a market wizard. And he's been in the market for 35 years. And he says this, and he says, I am still learning about the market. I'm still improving. Right? After 35 years, he's still saying, he's consistent. He's saying he's still making. So this is very, very hard. It's not easy. Okay? It's very, very difficult. And so now I realize I'm at a point where I'm at a level where now I'm understanding the significance of that setup. And when people say all you need is one setup, okay, all you need is one good setup that happen often enough. Okay, you want a setup that happens often enough so that you can take advantage of it. Okay, all right, and then you want to make sure that it's consistent with your life, whatever's happening. Okay, I'll tell you what, when you get fired and then your whole the criminal people know that you're a criminal and everybody wants to ostracize you, you'll feel like Jesus Christ when you're walking on that street towards Golgotha. Okay, you'll feel it. Just imagine this. When I read that, I said, when I read that, it's Jesus Christ carrying his cross through there, right? But there's much more, okay? What's really going on, okay? So it all comes down to these two things, okay? The setup happens often enough that I'm fully comprehending what the situation is, to become a master of that, and then maintain that consistency by not making mistakes, okay, and keeping emotion at bay and all that stuff, then it builds that consistency. That consistency is based on those factors, okay? Yeah, people say, well, consistency, but there's things that supports consistency, okay? It's a single word, but it's so complex. It's very, very complex. It's easy. Consistency means doing the same thing over and over again the same way. That's what it means, okay? But it's not. There's so many factors, okay? Even if you have a machine, okay, a titanium component of a machine that rotates, okay, as time progresses, even if there's full load of fluid grease in it, what it will do is there will be some sort of friction that it causes that shapes it, warps it. The temperature variance, the pressure difference, minuscule change will occur, okay? Okay? That's the variance, okay? That's what happens. Even on a machine level, things do change. On a human level, it changes quite a bit, okay? You have this person who's in a brain. The brain is interacting through the senses. And in most cases, the person is trapped within that cocoon, okay? That cocoon. And when some new information comes in and the person is incapable of processing that, it becomes distorted, okay? And unable to process it, okay? And so that causes not being able to understand something, conjures up some emotion, some sort of emotion, okay? So getting to 6% and 8% is essentially knowing the setup and being consistent about that setup. And once I get to that, once I make that happen, okay? Once I make that happen, all I need is a steady stream of consistent money initially. And I can use that to leverage it up, okay? All I have to do is make it consistent, however much it is, on a consistent basis. So much money for a week, so much money for 2 weeks, so much money for 3 weeks, so much money for a month. And if I can pull that money out, okay, every week, every month, every year, that's consistency. When I can do that at a certain amount, then I'm on the right track, okay? Then I can make a little more money, and then all of a sudden I'm thinking, oh, all those years, now it's funny. See, I would never have spoken like this with clarity that I am seeing right now. 6 years ago, my first YouTube video was very nervous, okay? I was nervous about making YouTube videos. I wasn't sure. Now I just make YouTube videos whether people watch it or not. It doesn't matter. Because it's about my trading journey, right? I'm documenting it. Because the sole purpose of my YouTube channel is to record the money that I will eventually make, or maybe I won't. But it's a documentary of a journey that I will take. So I thought about, so somebody made this comment about walking on the shoulders of giants. Okay. So so apparently a lot of people, what they will do is they'll read books, but they don't have actual experience about it. But so what they can do is they can be a messenger, but they don't have the experience to really concretely understand it. Right? So I heard a lot of things, but I didn't realize the experience solidifies the building blocks to get from 1% to 8%. So I was like thinking today, I was coming back from the buffet, okay, after taking a shower at Planet Fitness, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, so how do I get to 8%? Okay, so what I need is a titanium cube, okay, titanium cube, okay. So in the Bible, they talk about the what's it called? It's called what is it called? It's a sacrificial tent. Okay. There's a special terminology that I read the Bible many times. So essentially, there's like two chambers. One of them is the holy area, and the other is the other area. But it has exact dimensions. Okay. And so it has precise dimensions. And this titanium cube. Okay. Should I call it a titanium cube, or it's a new element? Okay. It's a new element of the periodic table. Okay. It's called the what is it called? It has essentially, see, there's a thing called a kryptonite, which is not on the periodic table, right? So it's called what do you call it? It's let's create it's let's so essentially, trading can be trading essentially is a building block of something called what do you call it? It's a compound that's called money. Okay, it's just for the lack of a better word. Okay, is it money? It is. It is a. It's a cube. It's a cube. Okay, it's a cube. How do I describe this cube? This cube is 1%. Okay, this cube is nice and shiny and glimmers, and it is. See, diamonds are not forever. Okay, I've discovered this. Okay, because people can make it. Okay, and people can destroy it. If you burn diamond, it'll turn into carbon. Okay, that's what happens. Apparently, you can burn diamond. Okay, into carbon. It'll fall back, revert back into carbon. Okay, and so diamond is not forever. Okay, and so then I thought to myself, okay, so I was like driving back here, and I thought to myself, okay, so essentially making 8% is stacking, just like the candles, okay, is essentially stacking one block, one cube on top of another cube, where one cube essentially is 1%. It is 1 cubit by 1 cubit by 1 cubit. Okay? That's the building block of that. And all I have to do is achieve that 1 cubit, okay, consistently. That consistency allows me to stack one on top of the other. But if my consistency is not there, what's going to happen is that I will be 1, 2, 3, 4, and then it'll all evaporate and then go back to 0. And then I have to build it. I have to form it again. It's formed and formed and formed. It magically appears. It's a magical element. Okay, okay. A qubit of magical. So essentially it is a. It essentially is. What is it called? Okay. It's called a transmutational transubstantiation. Okay, it's called a transubstantiation. It's the Catholic terminology, where bread turns into Christ. Okay. Transubstantiation. Okay. Transubstantiation. Okay. A cube of transubstantiation. Okay. It's a cube of transubstantiation. Okay, and then you build that from one block to another block to another block to another block to another block. Okay, and it keeps building. That's what consistency does. Okay, consistency builds. It's the one of the ingredients of transubstantiation is consistency. Because when I do certain things for a period of time, it needs to build that 1% cube. And then when that 1% cube is repeated over and over again for years, that's called transubstantiation. A cube of transubstantiation. Okay? It's money. It's money. Okay? So I'll just call it, how do you call it? It's called transubstantiation. Let's look at the periodic table. What do these people call these days? How do they name these items? Let's see. They call them eums. Californium. Okay, so I'll put eum in there. Okay. So it's called transubstantiationium. Okay. It's a cube of transubstantiationium. Why? Because it requires a setup that is within the brain that pops out. Okay. And then the consistency is also a figment of my imagination. The setup is also the figment of my imagination. And it has two, just like hydrogen. Oh, no, it's just like helium, okay? Just like helium, okay? It's an helium which has 2 protons, 2 neutrons, and 2 electrons, okay? So it requires these 2 things, which is the setup and consistency of that setup. It goes hand in hand. Maybe it's hydrogen. Okay, maybe it is hydrogen. Because it has to have a setup, and you have the soft skill, which is to maintain that consistency orbiting around. So it's just like a helium, okay? Just like helium, right? And so so essentially, it is very similar to what a helium is. Hydrogen is, okay? Okay? A cube of hydrogen, okay? But it can be very, very volatile. Okay, it can be very volatile because emotion. So it is. Trading essentially. Wow, yeah, it is. It really is. It's a cube of hydrogen. It's a cube of hydrogen. It's stacking a cube of hydrogen. It already exists. I don't have to recreate it. Trading is very similar to what. So the physical part of it is neutron will just negate it. It's not there. But the proton is essentially the setup. And there's this electron that's floating around, constantly maneuvering around. It's called consistency based on like making mistakes and emotions, all that stuff that is free flowing. That happens all the time. That's what the human being is. So that building block of trading for me is essentially compounding it into a cube. It's unstable. It's unstable because at any moment it can move against me and I could lose. At any moment, what I have maintained, it could just evaporate. That's what's been happening. That's what's happening for the past 6 years, okay? all the money just evaporated. Okay? It just evaporated. Okay? So apparently, in air, okay, in air, there are 78% nitrogen, 21% oxygen, and 0.9% argon. Oh, there's a lot of argon. There are trace gases of CO2, okay, and other elements, okay, neon, helium, and methane, okay. Interesting. I had no idea there's so many argons, okay? I had no idea there's so many argons, okay, in air, okay? When I was studying this in high school, I had no idea. There's a lot of nitrogen out there, okay? Anyway, so because it perfectly describes what that is. Because I could be profitable for a week, and then all of a sudden it'll just disappear, evaporate. It's gone. Okay? Essentially, trading is, building that is essentially carefully arranging it into a cube and then stacking them. But at any moment, I could lose it all. I could lose a whole year's of earnings in a single moment. So essentially, it is stacking cubes of hydrogen. Whoa. Okay? That consistency is not making mistakes. Building that solid understanding, even though it is a figment of my imagination, the solid footing is that setup because it has traction based on experience and statistical probability. And the soft part of it that's orbiting around, constantly moving around, is a constant dynamic, is emotion. And all the other things that are impacting whether I make a mistake or not make a mistake. That green candle. Okay? So, going from 1 to 2 to 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 is stacking a cube of hydrogen. Okay? Wow. See, I'm excited about these things, okay? I'm excited about it, okay? It's interesting. I had no idea there were so many. I heard about nitrogen being the most prevalent things. Nitrogen, okay? There's a lot of nitrogen in the air. Oxygen, yeah, I knew about that. But the argon, 1%, approximately about 1% is argon. Interesting. Argon is used in like welding and things like that. Argon is used in welding, I think. Oh yeah, argon is used. Yeah, interesting. Anyway, so at this stage of my trading career now, I realize I've come to the conclusion about this. It is stacking a very highly volatile thing called a cube of hydrogen. Okay? So it's called a cube of financial hydrogen. It's called a market hydrogen. Okay, that makes more sense.